The naming of cats is a difficult matter. It isn't just one of your holiday games. You may think at first, I'm as mad as a hatter when I tell you a cat must have 3 different names. First of all, there's the name that the family use daily, such as Peter, Augustus, Alonzo, or James, such as George or Jonathan, Bill Bailey, all of them sensible everyday names. There are fancier ones if you think they sound sweeter, some for the gentlemen, some for the dames, such as Plato, Augustus, Electra, Demeter, but all of them sensible everyday names. But I tell you, a cat needs a name that's particular, a name that's peculiar and more dignified, else how can it hold up its tail perpendicular, or spread out its whiskers, or cherish its pride? Of names of this type, I can give you a quorum, such as Mungostrap, Quaxo, or Coricopat, such as Bambalurina, or else Jelly Lorum, names that could never belong to more than one cat. But above and beyond, there's still one name left over, and that is the name that you never will guess, the name that no human resource can discover, but the cat himself knows and will never confess. When you notice a cat in profound meditation, the reason, I tell you, is always the same. Its mind is engaged in a rapt contemplation of the thought, of the thought, of the thought of his name. His ineffable, effable, effin, ineffable, deep and inscrutable singular name. We're live. It is 8 o'clock plus 2 minutes, because that T.S. Eliot poem, The Naming of Cats, takes exactly 2 minutes to recite. A.M. on March 25th, the year of our Lord 2025, and as you can see, I am contemplating the naming of cats, which in this case refers also to dogs. We're still working on a name for the little thing on my lap. Most inventive suggestion yet comes from Kate Klonick, who sends her regards, who suggested by text yesterday that I name her Houthi PC Small Group. We're going to have a conversation with Anna Bauer about the Houthi PC Small Group thing in a moment. I want to say I love this suggestion, and I would, in fact, adopt this suggestion using Houthi as her nickname, except for one thing, which is that I don't want to yell Houthi across a dog park, because then somebody's going to think I'm a racist, and somebody's going to think I'm joking about terrorism, and some people are going to think I'm anti-Semitic because the Houthis don't like Jews, and I'm honoring Houthis. And so everybody's going to get the wrong idea. And so I love the idea of Houthi PC Small Group, and in my heart, Kate, she will always be Houthi PC Small Group. But we're gonna go with with something else. Okay, that's good. Oh no. All right. I want to talk about some other name possibilities that have floated around. Um, uh, we've been bombarded by name suggestions, not all of which have followed the rule that we're going for something Greek. Right now, we are leaning toward Cleo, the muse of history, but I'm also attracted by Themis, the goddess of justice and law. I mean, come on, if it's a lawfare dog, we gotta maybe have a lawfare name. Craxon, which is a raven. And so for everybody who, also, uh, there is an ancient text which E.J. Wittes unearthed, which has Xenophon's recommendations for dog names. And one of them, I love this name, is Psyche, spelled as you would imagine, Psyche. Um, and so we're still working on it. You know, in the meantime, we have the cactus who already has a name, the cactus, and he has something to say to you all.
Freelancing Dog TV, an effing revolution in morning television.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is an effing revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, and there are many, is that for the second day in a row, I have a puppy in my lap, and we are naming her on the show. And another one of the revolutionary features, because, as I say, there are many, is that Holly has a chart to grade my monologue as I go. Folks, we are not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to have Houthi PC small group. We're going to be joined in a few moments by the great Anna Bauer, with whom we have a packed agenda. We're going to talk Houthi PC small group. We're going to talk uh, I'm sure there will be Taylor Swift discussions, although I will not participate in those. And I am equally sure that we will talk about whether we should name the puppy Witoed, which is Holly's Anna's acronym for who is the administrator of DOGE. Um, Holly, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. I'm thinking about all the times I got in trouble for accidentally bringing my cell phone into the CIA headquarters and the many walks of shame that I had to take out. And that is a security violation. You get a few free ones and then it's written up. And if you develop a pattern of that, then you can get in pretty serious trouble for accidentally bringing your phone into the building. And yeah, so I'm thinking about that. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
coming
an
to mind.
interesting thing for just to be randomly on your mind this morning. Can
Um,
I
oh,
interview you? Can I
one
interview you a little bit about some of the security breaches you may or may not have participated in?
You can, but your video, for everybody, your video is very blurry today. I don't know what, and apparently I'm clear as a bell and gorgeous. But you're
W-
looking rather blurry for everyone today,
Well, that
including
is
myself.
probably a low bandwidth issue, but I'm not sure. I will refresh while after I ask you the next question.
Okay.
So, Holly, how many times did you participate in uh, a highly classified operational discussion on on a commercial service provider?
Well, let me think. Never. Not even once. So, uh, we did have we did use Signal but mainly what we use Signal for is like, hey guys, I'm not feeling well today. Tell bosses that, I'm not going to be there. Or, hey guys, I'm in traffic. I'm going to be like 15 minutes late to the meeting with X, Y, and Z, and someone please cover for me. That kind of thing.
Okay, but so you never got like
No war plans.
you never got invited, to like uh we're doing a hostage rescue in Nigeria thread. Here are all the operational details thread on
No.
Signal.
And can I just rant for a second about there's so many things to rant about, but one particular thing. Okay, if you're a highfalutin, like even not even a cabinet level, like even just, several layers below that, they go to your home and they build a skiff in your home. Like these people have skiffs in their homes. Like if I, okay,
Right,
if
but
I,
Holly, one of the problems with having a skiff in your home is that you can't take it, you know, to a restaurant like your cell phone. It's not convenient. You have to be home, right? And I think for a lot of people, if you can't take it with you, I mean, you can't even take your skiff to the bathroom if you're going to sit on the john and text with your friends about the operations that you're organizing. You can't use Siri from a distance to say, hey, tell Houthi PC small group to, uh, you know, uh, we're 100% down with the OPSEC. You know, you can't do that remotely if you're doing it. And so I think there's something to be said for the signal approach.
yeah, it's a terribly tragic story. You're talking with someone who has had to drive. Fortunately, I live only 10 minutes from agency headquarters, but some of my colleagues live like 45 minutes from agency headquarters, and I have had to literally leave my home and drive in to click a few buttons or answer a question,
Right,
after
but wouldn't it
hours
have been
or yeah.
better? Wouldn't it have been better if you'd just been able to pick up your phone and add your friends in
And
like
reporters.
a Facebook group,
And the reporters. Don't forget the reporters.
and all the reporters who you're close to and you have some pre-existing relationship with, so they're in your contacts, you can just slip them in there. Then you don't even have to leak stuff to them. It kind of automates it. It happens automatically. um uh it
Very
seems more
convenient.
efficient.
Hmm.
Shouldn't we
Yeah,
just
it's
have a
very
signal
convenient.
group where we discuss everything in
Yeah, I mean,
government?
I think they should just, the whole classified information thing, I mean, the whole structure of it is very clunky and onerous and just puts an undue burden on people. And, it's just not convenient and it's not fun. It's not a fun environment. It
Right.
doesn't give fun. And there's not as many emojis available. There are some emojis, I just want to say, on the inside there are
Which are
emojis.
the best
Yeah.
emojis on the high side? Is there the crying with laughter emoji?
We have some we actually have some special emojis that I don't know where any of these come from, frankly. I don't
Yeah,
know where any of these
I
come
also
from.
want to say, like, if an emoji is available on the high side, does that mean if you share the emoji, if you tell me which emojis are available on the high side, is that a disclosure of classified information?
I don't think so. But the one I liked is there was a dancing one, like a kind of staying alive one that I liked. There was like a ninja one where like sneaky that I liked. I never mastered the emojis, frankly. Like you had to somehow add them to your you know, electronic keyboard. You had to add them to your own particular profile in order to use them. And I never really mastered that beyond like a couple. So I wasn't an emoji master on the inside, but I the number of emojis are greater on the outside. Like I
Right.
never saw the bicep one, I don't think.
Oh,
Um
you didn't have the bicep one?
I mean, again, maybe I didn't see that one in particular. Obviously, American flag, that's
Right.
standard. Um, so I just think that we should just get, and also, here's the other thing: is the whole classified information thing. It keeps tripping up our friends in the Trump administration and other people. Like it's tripped up a lot of very high-ranking, very important people, and so therefore and it is embarrassing for them, and I just don't think you can have that. And so I just suggest that we get rid of the entire concept of classification and security clearances. That's the other thing. You secure, like, it makes it at least cringe, if not hard, to hire whoever you want in the White House. Like
Right.
what,
Although we
like you want
fixed
a
that
South
problem.
African billionaire to come in and like wreck the government. he doesn't, of course, he doesn't have a security clearance. But the fact that you just give that to him willy nilly, it's a little, it puts the onus on you. It makes you look a little cringe.
Right. So
And
you
so
say
I just
just
think,
get rid of the whole thing. It'll
just get
also
rid of the whole.
solve your giving operational details to Sergei Lavrov in the Oval Office stuff of Israeli
Yeah,
operations. It would solve
all
that
of it
problem too.
is very inconvenient. It trips a lot of people up. How many times have I had to walk my phone all the way across the parking lot, which is a very big parking lot, by the way,
It is.
in bad weather, when I accidentally brought it in. And then, oh, and it's so embarrassing. They come round, like if you accidentally brought it in and you have no idea it's in your bag, somehow there's sensors everywhere and they know it. And these two dudes come with this little machine, and they come in your office and they're like, someone in here has a cell phone. And they're like, go, and everybody, and you're thinking like, oh, well, it's not me, and everybody check your bags. And then it is you. And then everybody is like, you're such a loser.
All
And
right.
then you
So,
have to walk all the way back out to your car.
so I have a serious question for you.
Yeah.
Um, it's not going to require that you walk all the way out to your car. Whose fault is
My
this?
car's right there,
Is
so
this
that'd
a
be fine.
Mike Waltz situation? Because he's the one who had Jeff Goldberg in his thing. In his contacts, he set up the Signal group. Is this a um, Ratcliffe situation because he's the one who shared all the operational details on, maybe Mike Waltz was just, not setting it up for policy discussion. He was setting it up, for, oh, let's have a meeting at 3, or did you take care of that thing the president asked you to do at the PC, right? Like, but Ratcliffe and Hegseth kind of shared sensitive stuff here. Um, is it JD Vance's fault because knowing he was on a secure,
Fault.
it's everybody's fault?
Yeah, like if you have a security clearance, it behooves every single person, when you go in a meeting, if you're gonna speak, if you're gonna say anything classified in a meeting, it's on you, on every person in that meeting to determine, to know, and to ensure and to verify that what the security clearance is of the meeting, and that everybody in there has that security clearance.
All right, so let's do some advice for future cabinet level officers who want all the convenience and what's the solution here? Is it shoe phones, Maxwell Smart style? Is it those things you can put over your head where you can talk to other people securely if they're standing right in front of you? How should, in a world in which convenience matters and in which Pete Hegseth is going to be sitting on the can sending I know that's we don't want to think about that, but he's going to be sitting there. Uh, what is the right technology for this situation?
It's called using the fucking skiffs they already built for you
No,
in
no,
your
no, no.
house
That's so
and in your office.
1990s of you, Holly, or so early on.
Honestly, a lot
It's
of them
expecting.
have toilets in their skiffs.
Wait, all right, but come on. Some people are gonna want to take an Instagram of themselves doing war planning, war crimes planning. Some people are gonna be like, "Dude, we're fucking the Houthis. Check me out." Some people are gonna want to do that, and you can't just not be part of the 21st century.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So,
I lived there for 19 years. Trust me, you can be not part of the 21st century.
Ben,
So,
I made the mistake of taking your questions seriously, and so I came on to offer a serious answer, and now I wonder if that was inappropriate.
No, no, no. I think you give a serious answer, and we will mock it.
Well, so to the extent that there is a legitimate use of Signal among cabinet level officials for veiled commentary that does not include anything classified, it seems because it's more convenient, even if it's go to a skiff now, or I don't even, that's probably not okay. Uh, Maybe they need their own version of Signal that's just a little bit more closed, so you can't accidentally add a journalist, but
You
they
can
still
you
can't
can
talk about
use
anything
Signal for
classified.
that though. You can use Signal for that. You can have.
Yeah, but it's a bad idea,
But you
Holly.
can
We've learned
accidentally add Jeff
operationally.
Goldberg.
It's actually fine to do something like that. Like, hey, there's a meeting at 8 o'clock. Everybody,
Right.
be
No, I mean,
be
I
in this.
deliberately offered something that's supposed to be fine. The point is, you shouldn't actually use real Signal for that because you might actually accidentally add Jeff Goldberg or even Jeff Goldblum, which I think would be so much better. Like, imagine if they added Jeff Goldblum.
If you're like, no, I think it's a war plan or something. That's my.
Hello, Anna Bauer.
Hello, finally. So sorry that it
No
took me so
worries.
long.
So what do you think?
How's
Anna,
it
Should
I
we
going?
want you to
name this
advocate for
puppy?
Ben to nickname his dog Wee Toad, and that's all I'm going to say.
Um,
Oh, I cannot believe I did not come up with this
Yeah, no, I
effort.
suggested it too.
well,
We
we're
all
gonna
suggest.
wait. We're gonna talk about a few possible names for this puppy. First of all, what do you think of Houthi PC small group with just Houthi as a nickname?
I mean,
You call it PC, just PC, or if you don't want to do Hootie, or you could like do some acronym
Because
Hootie,
the
PC.
problem with Houthi PC small
so
group is then you would have to shout Houthi across the dog park, and people would think you're like either pro-terrorist or hate Jews or are a racist or something. No one's going to get the right idea that it's actually named after a text thread.
well, but also you risk the dog being deported under an Alien Enemies Act proclamation. So,
That's correct. It's a risk. All right. So what about Witoed? Whoops, I think we've lost Anna.
Is she on vacation? It looks like she's on vacation.
She is on
oh,
vacation.
yes, I'm sorry. I froze up. My internet here is terrible. So apologies if I
So,
am going in and out. But
so,
yes, I'm
so what
on
about
family
Witoed?
vacay in Florida. Witoed,
So,
perfect. Although it sounded like John is trying to retcon our pronunciation and go with we toad.
I don't think we're there yet. So, for those who don't know, tell us about the acronym WITOD and what it stands for, and did you create it?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear the question.
So, tell us about the acronym WITOD and where it comes from, and
Oh,
did you create it?
right. It means who is the administrator of DOGE. It comes from the fact that we don't really seem to know who actually is the administrator of DOGE. There is a formal administrator who's a woman named Amy
Hmm.
Gleason. The
I think
administrator.
maybe
Go ahead. Sorry. Am I breaking up really bad? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
Um,
Here's what I'm going to
which
do.
won't
I'm
happen
going
on
to
the
leave you
recording
all to discuss with
because
Toad, and I'm
that's
going
all
to try
recording
to
locally on your phone.
connect to a different. Yes, I'm going to connect to a different internet, and I will be back.
Okay. Um, she woke up.
I'm wondering if there's some plot twist in this whole thing and that Anna is actually the administrator of DOGE
Well,
this whole
every
time.
time the subject comes up, I do ask her point blank, "Are you the administrator of DOGE?" And
Right.
and she denies it. So she has denied it on the record, but we continue our inquiries.
Maybe it's like a severance thing. Maybe she's doing that job and she doesn't even know it. Like she thinks she's doing something else, like working
Hmm.
for you, but she's actually the administrator of DOGE.
Right, that's the other side of her personality.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, it's just a theory.
well, what do you think, little thing, about being named Witoed?
That's cute. I like it. It's like it's wittoed wittest. See?
Witoed Wittis. It would, I mean,
Yeah,
it does have a
it flows
certain
off the tongue.
ring to it. It's not
Yeah.
Greek, however.
I mean, who says? I don't know Greek. As far as I know,
It's
it's
Greek to
Greek.
you.
Greek. Yes, yes,
Sorry.
that's right.
Sometimes
Greek to
it just
me.
happens.
I don't do Greek. I don't do Latin. I don't do any language that has weird letters.
How do you
That's where I
say
draw the
who
line.
is the administrator of DOGE in Swahili?
Nanim kuwa doge.
Nanim Kuwa DOGE. All right. So what is
Yeah.
on your mind this morning, Holly, other than the fact that people should actually use their skiffs?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's definitely a big one, especially given again, all the shame that I personally have endured for minor slip-ups. I even got a real letter in my file one time
Wow.
because yeah, you want to hear what that was about?
Yeah.
So, me and my best friend Gary, who I don't know if you've met him. Anyway, he's still my best friend. We shared it was a terrible decision on the part of management, but we shared an office. Like, it was just the two of us in an office, and we got nothing done ever. We just laughed the entire day. But anyway, Gary is perpetually single. And his romantic life is, there's always drama. And there was a woman at work that he was interested in at the time. This was ages ago, by the way. And anyway, when you go to the bathroom or you leave your desk, even for like 10 seconds, you're supposed to lock your computer. Okay. But he got up to go somewhere. He did not lock his computer, and I could see this. And then all of a sudden, the woman he was interested in messaged him. I looked over at his desk, and I happened to see her message like pop up.
Was it a signal chat in a thread called Houthi PC small group?
Signal chat. It was an internal chat.
Okay.
And so her message like popped up, and because before I could even think and go through my steps, of like, is this a good idea behavior? I immediately rushed to his computer and like read her message, oh my gosh, what is this woman saying to Gary? And then I realized that that was definitely not okay to use someone else's computer. And because I am such an ethical individual,
You reported yourself?
I reported myself. I reported myself for everything. Like, every time I brought my phone in accidentally, even if they didn't catch me, the little guys didn't catch me, I still reported myself. I reported myself all the time. That's what they want. They want you to report yourself. And usually if you report yourself, unless it's really bad, like, you're just going to get like oh, don't do that again, right? So I reported myself, and obviously him by proxy, because he had left his computer unlocked. And anyway, they called us both in. We got letters in our file.
Was the gossip from the woman worth it?
No, it had nothing to do. It was just some work issue.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not worth
just like
it at
a planning
all.
of a raid in Yemen.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
not
no,
even anything like sex related.
no, nothing. Just work related. She was completely uninterested in Gary, which I should have known.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about all those incidents today, and thinking about how totally fair and everything the world is.
The world, I mean, everybody gets held to the same standards except Anna Bauer,
Everybody.
who
Yeah.
can't seem to find her way back onto Riverside. John,
Look,
you're
I'm
back.
only here because Anna isn't here, but I had a bit of fashion advice for you, Ben. I don't normally give fashion advice, but this is
Is it
technical.
that the dark shirt makes the dog invisible?
But only when you have low bandwidth. So until you fix your bandwidth, please don't wear shirts the color of the dog.
Okay, so look, I don't know what's up with the bandwidth.
I just
And
think it's
I
not a big ask.
also, the dog is also, um, not one of the promised features of the show. She's just hanging out. And so
Hey, John,
I can't promise you to comply with that request, but I'll do what I can.
Fair enough.
this is a free show. So we don't have a producer,
My
right, Ben? Ben is
caption
the
is
Well, I
also
mean,
producer.
other than
nice.
obviously I have a wardrobe consultant, but look, we're all adjusting to the new facts of life with a dog who may or may not be the administrator of DOGE,
I mean,
and
would
may
be
or
a
may
better
not be
one.
the color of my dog shirt.
I mean,
This would be a better would be a better president, would be a better defense secretary. There's any number of roles this new puppy could fill.
what I don't know what the policy implications would be if the president were to appoint a non-human as an administrator. I mean, would that just
Don't
be
even
another
joke.
way to evade the regulations?
Wasn't
I
there
do want
some
to.
town somewhere that elected a golden retriever to be
There are
mayor?
actually like 10 towns that have elected mayors, dogs as mayor. I did want to note my caption
Carol
is
says Elon is a non-human.
my caption is from last week, and it was because Ben, you had noted in a discussion of Mexico and Canada that there was some kind of gulf in the policies between them, and it struck me that the gulf between Canada and Mexico is in fact the United States, and we should therefore call the United States the
The
Gulf
Gulf of
of America, and
Whoa.
that was
No,
just a
I think
thought.
that's wise, and there's a lot to that. Um, and it's pretty funny too. It's quite witty. So this dog is getting squirmy. Um,
Oh, that's a new thing.
yeah, she's never done that before.
What happens if you put her down? Does she go pee on stuff or?
Well, there's a risk of that. She hasn't done it yet, but we have nobody here to follow her around and scoop her up as she gets in trouble. So I'm keeping her on my lap while I'm on the show.
Well,
So
And now
11
she's
weeks
gnawing on my
means
hand.
how many hours between pee breaks? I'm
Mm,
not a
I'll
puppy
let her
expert.
out every 2 or 3 hours.
oh, Anna is back and
Anna
Right.
is,
looking very official in
Once
an
again,
office.
In the
Wito's the one
business center.
Ooh, the business center.
whoa.
So wait, I'm sorry, there was Wito discourse happening
Yes,
as I
Yes,
arrived.
Witoed
I
as
still
a
think you
name
might
for a
be the
dog.
administrator.
I love Witoed as a name for a dog.
Um,
Wittoed Wittis.
Yeah,
all right,
Wito
so
with it.
here's the question about the name Witoed. Did you create this acronym or did other people create this acronym?
Well, so I am the one who came up with the who is the administrator of DOGE like uh slogan. And then people, I don't know if I was the first one to say or to use the acronym, but uh somehow it started being used on the internet amongst like the 10 people who care.
But
Uh,
somebody's
Oh, I think
made a
part of the whole
website and
movement.
there are signs and
yeah, now it's a movement. There's someone started a
A movement.
website. People are asking for merch. We have started a true movement. Three federal judges have joined. Chris Hayes is part of the Witoed movement.
have any of the federal judges used the phrase "who is the administrator of DOGE," or or are they merely posing the question?
I think that there was maybe one judge who actually said who is the administrator of DOGE before we knew who the administrator was. But I would need to look back at the transcripts to see. But yeah, they're more so they're not like using Witoed
Hashtag
from the
Witoed.
hashtag Witoed from the
They're not
bench.
busting that out in court.
They're when I say they're part of the movement, they're like they are not officially Witoed affiliated, but they understand the ethos, they understand the goal. and the project that we're
And share the goal. I'm sure they would love to know.
right. And the
Okay,
reason
so
why it's important is because it actually does relate to some of the legal cases that are related to the appointments clause, because there's this question of, even though there's this formal administrator of DOGE position, the government has said that Elon is not the administrator. And there's this question of like, well, is he really in charge of DOGE? And who is, if not Elon?
So I think we need a new status under the appointments clause. You have principal officers, you have subordinate officers, inferior officers, you have employees, and I think we need a fourth category, which is eminence grise, and which is to say a person that you deny is wielding executive power, but everyone secretly knows is actually pulling the strings. Oh, now she's like making little whining noises.
She's a very well-behaved dog, I will say.
Well, first of all, she's administering the whole Department of Government Efficiency, and secondly, she's got these text threads where she's planning whole wars. And so, like there's a reason she doesn't have time to do little like puppy games.
Well, maybe she'll find some spare time to chew up a shoe or something between.
So how did you learn yesterday about Houthi PC small group? What was the complexion of your day when that came across the transom to you?
Yeah, is the where you were when you learned about the Houthi PC small group the new, where you were when Kennedy got shot? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't born yet.
I
As
wasn't born
neither
yet
were.
either, for the record.
Yeah,
But
so that one's not that interesting for me. The one that's my generation's version of that is where were you when you learned that the Challenger space shuttle had blown up? Holly would have been like in middle school.
Yeah, but I was in Africa, so we heard about it later.
Yeah, I was in
my
the
yeah,
high school cafeteria.
my generation, it's where what was the day of 9/11 like for you? Which I think that a lot of people because I'm a millennial and it ranges from, like I was in like second grade, I think, or maybe first grade. But then, some older millennials were like in middle school or high school, I think, or middle school. But yeah, that's what it is for us, I think.
But I think this incident will just blend into the blizzard of
Yeah.
ridiculous and awful and dangerous things.
For sure.
So,
I was absolutely joking. But yeah,
no, I know.
so Holly,
but I just-
where were you? Yeah, what was your
when I learned about
TPC small group?
yeah, well, I was painting pretty much all day yesterday, and a friend texted me the article, and I was telling Ben, I immediately flashed back to all of the times I was shamed and written up for bringing my cell phone into the building and minor security things like that. So yeah, it's particularly enraging for those of us who have lived with the burden of the classified environment.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I don't have the experience that you do of working in the federal government and being familiar with all of the various. I mean, I am familiar-ish with the protocol, but it was nonetheless, not surprising, but still astonishing in a way. I read the piece, like, I think only like 6 minutes after it published. I don't even remember how. I think I saw it. I was looking for something on Blue Sky or Twitter, and I just happened to see someone post it. And I immediately just read the first like two paragraphs, and I was like, I cannot believe, I mean, I can believe it, but What?
So
And I love
you want to hear an
Heg's
embarrassing
like,
story about how I found out about it?
oh
How?
yeah.
All right. So I knew the story was coming because Shane Harris had interviewed me for it. But he'd interviewed me based on a hypothetical that did not involve a signal thread. Um, and so I thought I knew what the story was about, and I thought it was pretty bad, but it didn't involve. But like the hypothetical that he gave me was way less bad than the reality. And so when it came out, I didn't read it initially. I was just like, yeah, I kind of know the parameters of this. I'll read it tonight. And then I start getting these like, first of all, I thought the story was by Shane. I didn't realize the story was by Jeff Goldberg until either you or our mutual friend told me. And then I was like reading it and like I actually listened to it on the way back from Dulles Airport yesterday evening. And it was so much worse than I had understood. That and so I actually was kind of hours late on it because having been interviewed for it, I sort of thought I knew what it was about and was completely wrong. So don't assume, because when you assume, you make an ass of you and me.
But not as big of an ass as everybody in that chat, except for Jeff Goldberg. Did you see also Pete Hegseth somehow then
Lied
made it
about it?
Goldberg's? Well, he lied about it, but then also it was Jeff Goldberg. I was just waiting for the explanation, like this is how this was somehow the fault of DEI, you know? And my theory was that all the people who might have told them that this was a dumbass thing that they were doing and get on your secure comms, those were all fired because of DEI. So.
Okay, so
Well, I'm still confused. Like, how did this happen? Like, what happened?
well, it
I mean,
seems to be that Mike Waltz put the group together and had Jeff in his contacts database on Signal and confused him with somebody else who's supposed to be in
But
the
who?
group.
another
Jeff Goldberg. So,
or
but I
different
have
Jeff.
a
A lot of Jeff.
so, okay, let's game this out from a Trump administration point of view. One possibility is that you do nothing with it. You just, impunity is the rule. Um, uh, you know, go on, pretend it didn't happen, maybe cast some aspersions at the Atlantic, which Hegseth did yesterday, and but don't deny it, but don't, you know, to the extent you're asked about it any further, just what about her emails? It so
Say that more.
Yeah.
I mean, they can, but
I mean that she never sent her emails to a journalist, but so second possibility is throw Mike Waltz over the bus. Um, he set it up. He invited Jeff. That sort of implies that he and Jeff had some kind of a prior relationship, maybe on Signal, maybe somewhere else. So you say this shows he was leaking and you get rid of him. Third possibility is you take it seriously as a set of leaks, which would require a 811 referral to the FBI, but that drops it all in Kash Patel's lap. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? How do you play it? If you're a normal administration, the latter is the answer, right? You refer it all to the FBI and you let the chips fall where they may. But what do you do if you're them?
the problem is if they okay, well, there's a lot of problems and the reasons they won't do anything properly, but I'm assuming just the way this is played out that this is actually fairly normal for how they do business. And so therefore, if you actually did an investigation, it would probably unspool a whole big, anyway, it would get out of hand really quick in terms of where it all leads, so you don't want to do that. So I think, I mean, why would they just not move on with their lives? That's what they do about everything, and frankly, it works for them. If you have a level of shamelessness, an appropriate level of shamelessness, you can do anything you want. I think that's what Trump has proven, is like a normal person, like there's body language and facial, and like they can't just go on. There's too much shame because they're like a normal human. But he's not, he doesn't have that, and like it turns out that's a superpower. Like that's a total
Okay, but
superpower.
that's for him personally. This is
But
a
he's
whole.
surrounded himself with people like this. I mean, Pete Hegseth, to me, like
I don't know.
just
This
taking
isn't. I
that
mean, you
job.
you can do that with a few sexual assaults, Holly. But come on, this is information management.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, like it just Pete Hegseth taking that job shows just being like, oh yeah, I can do this job. Shows a level of like just astronomical shamelessness. So anyway,
What do you think,
Anna.
Anna?
I mean, I think nothing happens. I think the only way that something happens is maybe if, in terms of accountability, is maybe there is a resignation by Waltz, or maybe someone connected to Waltz, because we don't exactly know all the circumstances behind how Jeff Goldberg got added to the chat. There could be a staffer involved, for example. I don't know. But I think that it seems like if there is, maybe if there's infighting within the Trump world, people who have policy or other kind of differences with Waltz might seek to take advantage of the moment and encourage some kind of consequences for him. But otherwise, I really don't see a universe in which there's any kind of real answer from the administration to this issue, to this controversy. I think that it's exactly what Holly said, which is that they are going to do exactly what they've done with every other scandal, which is kind of change the narrative, revise retrospectively, kind of revise the facts, as we've already seen that Hegseth is trying to do, and then move on. And so I would be really surprised if we see anything come of this. Ben, what's your take?
Real quick, the chat suggests that they will prosecute Jeff Goldberg. So
Yeah, I mean honestly, there's a lot of people who, there's a lot of criticism, even from some reporters I saw, of people who were like, why would Jeff Goldberg leave the chat? Why not just stay and lurk? And I mean, I think the moment that he realized that it actually was likely a real conversation amongst top White House officials, and that potentially classified information was being sent to that chat, he certainly, as a legal matter, likely made the calculation that not only was there something to report, but also that there's potential legal risk if he knowingly stayed in that chat where classified
So
information was being.
I don't think there was legal risk for him.
Was there not?
So, as I understand the Espionage Act, which for my sins in life, I had a lot of experience with. He was a passive recipient of all of that information.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that I think that there maybe comes a point where once you know the classified information is being sent, no?
There's no
Okay.
prohibition against receiving.
Mm.
As long as you don't participate in the transmission, he's not stealing it. He's not, he was invited to join that's legal. He's invited by Mike Waltz to connect. That's perfectly legal and appropriate.
Is he retaining it?
So he is retaining, but he's not authorized to receive it. And so the retention provisions restrict Holly, right? Holly, who is authorized to receive it, is not allowed to improperly retain it. But if Holly
Right.
dumps it in my lap, there's no rule about my, um, you know, I'm not covered by that provision. And so he's not, now there's an interesting question about when they come to him and say, give it back. But they never did that. Um, and in fact, as far as I know, they still haven't done that. At least there's nothing in the story that says they've tried to retrieve it. So I don't think he has any legal vulnerability at all. It's really
I
like a truck drove up to his house and dumped a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm still just not convinced though that that would be enough to under this administration not have some concerns about whether you're going to be investigated, even if you
Well,
don't think that there's,
look, they
like,
can investigate anything they want.
right,
And the question is whether he has any real exposure. But
right.
look, I think I think it's going to be very hard to avoid an investigation of this. And here's why. And I'm particularly, Holly, interested in your sense of the following analysis. We've got at least four agencies involved in this, right? State, CIA, Defense, NSC,
And DNI, if you count that as a separate.
and DNI. So all of them have some kind of routine procedure associated with disclosures. Whether it's that it gets thrown to the IG or whether there's a routine referral to the FBI. There's a certain amount of automaticity in the way, as Holly's description of her own experiences go, whenever there is a security breach, there are certain procedures that you follow. So now imagine that, Pete Hegseth is corrupt and reasonably clever. So maybe he says, no, we're not following the procedures here. We're not doing any of the normal mandatory reporting. But do we imagine that that's going to happen in all of the agencies? That all 4 or 5 agencies involved are all going to override their own normal internal procedures because this is embarrassing? Or do we think that in some case, somebody's just going to they haven't had time to change these rules yet. So then it goes to whatever the normal procedure is in 4 or 5 different agencies. And at some point in those procedures, there's like, well, if it was really reckless, you're supposed to send an 811 referral to the FBI. And so then somebody in one of those 5 agencies is going to make that referral. And then you're going to end up with, and here's where I think the thing is going to go off the rails, with Kash Patel having to decide whether to investigate this. And of course he won't. But then that becomes a little bit of a scandal. And separate from the scandal of the underlying events, why is this not being treated like any other security breach? And I think that question, they're not going to be able to avoid that question.
So, okay, so a couple of points. First of all, I have a suspicion, I don't know this for a fact, but based on the Hillary Clinton situation, which obviously,
flew out
not
of
as
a
bad,
routine, grew out of a
also
routine automatic kind of referral.
right? Also, but anyway, and just, I have a suspicion that high level officials have a lot more in a normal administration there's a lot more leeway. There's a lot more fast and loose, and there is definitely a different standard of punishment, like 100%.
Right.
I don't know the law or regulation in terms of what what sort of authorities I know the president can obviously declassify things and kind of obviously apparently can do whatever he wants
Well, there's the
these days.
Petraeus standard,
Yeah.
which is that
But
if
yeah,
you're
so
giving,
that's
if
what I
you're
was gonna say.
sleeping
But
with the
Petraeus,
person who's also writing your biography, then
yeah.
there's a completely different set of rules. That's not a
Yeah, I was
crime.
gonna,
That's called,
yeah,
I don't know, it's
right.
hot or something.
I was going to mention the Petraeus issue. I mean, again, like if a normal person had done, like the consequences would be a lot greater than and he's apparently
I just want to
completely
remind you
rehabilitated.
all what he said to Paula Broadwood, when he gave her the notebooks with the
Broadwell.
code word classified stuff in it. Be careful, that's code word classified stuff in there. And so, that's what we call scienter in the law. When you're saying to your biographer / girlfriend, be careful, it's code word classified, that's
So yeah, I mean, there's in a normal administration, which this is definitely not that. Even in those, there's clearly a different standard, and I don't know what the law is. I think agency heads do have some, authorities as well. But there's clearly a different standard. But then, separately, of course, this is not. There's nothing normal about this. Like none of them are going to do anything about this. And they'll probably, and why, if one of them does, that creates a problem for all of them, and then that person's on the shit list. And this is not how like crime syndicates operate. Everybody has to be on the same page. So nothing's going to happen with this.
And also it would interfere with their ability to continue to use Signal, which I think that they likely are doing based on the fact that, you're making a Signal group that seems like the setting up of it was pretty routine and that kind of thing. And there's news reporting in other areas of the federal government, like DOGE, about people using Signal in that context too. So
Well,
To be
I
clear,
have a
people
message
use
to any
Signal in the
federal
government. Like
worker
it is.
who's using Signal to transmit classified information, which is it's the wrong platform for it. First of all, it's it's kind of clunky. So use iMessage instead. It's much more convenient. Or WhatsApp. It'll
No.
back it up to the cloud for you, which is important because if Holly and I are planning a war on our group chat, and Anna loses her phone, then this way she can hit where's my iPhone, and she gets her phone back, and it'll reconstitute the thing. And so it's much more convenient to use WhatsApp with the weekly chat backups up there, or better yet, Facebook Messenger, because that's not even encrypted. And so if you use Facebook Messenger, you're gonna have, or maybe it is now, but if you use Facebook Messenger, then you can share the things with others, you can invite others to join it. So really the Signal thing is not a good idea, guys.
what about TikTok DMs?
TikTok DMs are fine.
I mean,
You want to use that. In fact, really, we should just be doing our government on TikTok.
This goes back to my original point, Ben, which is the entire classified system. And then it's burdensome, it's clunky, it's inconvenient. And why do we just don't classify anything, just do everything out in the open?
That's right.
There's nothing to hide. It's all good.
On
But
TikTok videos.
there's another issue that people are raising in the chat, so this is not just doing classified is definitely not legal in Signal chat. Like that's mishandling classified material. But also, I wonder because people use Signal, I have to say, and that because again, to say like you don't have a way to communicate outside the office if you're in the if you're certainly if you're in the intelligence community. So people use Signal to do things like, hey, I'm running late, like have a sick kid, like to communicate outside the office like that,
Hey,
or the meeting
here
was
are the
canceled
war
tomorrow.
plans for, I'm running late. In case you need
Here's
the
the
war
war plan.
plans for
Yeah.
Yemen, here's the doc.
But it raised the question of the records, because obviously you can't. Someone asked if Anna can FOIA Signal chat. You can't FOIA Signal chat, can you? I mean, that's not going to
Oh,
be
that's not
kept.
true.
You can,
You
but
can't.
they probably, especially if it's disappearing messages and the records are gone, then
Yeah, so
just
disappearing messages are illegal for
yeah.
exactly that reason. If it is potentially of historical value, it must be retained. That is not
Okay.
a classified records issue. That's a Presidential Records Act, National Archive issue.
Yeah. So,
But
but
you're
my
not allowed
question
to
was,
throw out government records or flush them down the toilet, Donald Trump.
so even if you're using some non-government system, you still have to retain that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
So
you're doing
these
government
guys,
business.
these Signal chats that they're maybe using ongoing, those technically they'll have to be retained. But of course, that's now we do know there is a small group on Signal, so maybe you can FOIA that quickly. Do that quick, real quick, Anna, or something like that. But what about like Jared Kushner, for instance, had a whole. I know he had a whole WhatsApp relationship with Mohammed bin Salman, for instance.
You're not allowed to just, to the extent he did that in his capacity as a White House employee, as opposed to in his capacity as bon vivant personal guy. Those are federal records, and you're obliged to treat them as such. Look,
Okay.
we gotta go because this
Oh
one.
no, Swifty talk. Oh.
But
Oh,
Anna will be back for the Swifty talk someday when she is not in the business center. Um, Look, we're going to be back tomorrow. There's going to be some great scandal today. We're going to have entirely forgotten about Houthi PC small group and Witoed by tomorrow, except that this one will have a name by tomorrow or the next day, and maybe it will be Houthi PC small group, and maybe it will be
Wito.
Witoed Witis, and maybe it will be something entirely different, but we will find out. Keep the faith.